The Revisionary Podcast with your host, Juan Carlos. The Revisionary Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Revisionary Podcast. And as always, I'm your host, Juan Carlos. For those of you listening for the first time, the way the Revisionary Podcast works is we bring on guests. A lot of them are comedians because, I kind of did comedy for a little bit, and that's just kind of my background. And they come on and tell a nonfiction story about their lives in which they wish things had gone a little bit differently. Afterwards, I give them an opportunity to discuss the same exact story, except this time when they retell it, they get to, change any facts or details that they want about the story. And then after that, we go ahead and dive into it, and we get to discuss the impact of the changes that they've made. So today, I'm very, very excited for our guest. She is not a comedian. For those of you guys who are fans of the show Big Brother, we actually have the one and only Strong Island Nicole Anthony coming on the show today. She's joining us. So I'm really excited. Here's the thing about this. I'm going to tell you guys something. I've been doing stand-up for a few years, and I've had an opportunity to work with some incredible talents and people who've done a lot of cool things. A lot of people who've been on TV, a lot of people who've done a lot of stuff, and people of varying levels of fame. And my little brother, I have two younger brothers, right? Joseph and Jason. Joseph is graduating from college this year. We're all very proud of him. And then there's my little brother, Jason, who is one of those salt of the earth people. Like, he is one of the nicest people on this planet. Like, he is a great kid. Even though he's going through his, hormonal, teenage brooding stage, you know what I mean? Even as a brooding teenager, he's still very, very nice, which is, I consider myself blessed to have him in my life. But anywho, I've done all these things and I've told him about it, and I constantly am telling him about all the people I'm meeting. Never is he ever impressed, right? All of a sudden, he finds out Nicole Anthony is coming onto the show, onto the Revisionary Podcast, and the little kid is geeked. Like, I've never seen him so excited. He's like, oh my God, Nicole's coming on. Oh my God, ask this. Oh my God, this. Oh my God, that. Oh my God, tell Nicole about this. Oh my God, tell Nicole I love her. And I'm just like, are you serious? You're never this excited about me or anything that I do. So here we are. Apparently, I'm going to have the opportunity to speak to his idol, so I'm really excited about that. Let's see how this goes. And I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and see if we could get Nicole on the line. Hello, Nicole. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for coming on the Revisionary Podcast. We're excited to have you.
I can tell. Thank you so much.
My voice doesn't normally crack like that. I was going to make up a funny excuse, but there isn't. There's no excuse for what I just did.
But I like it, though. It's joyous, it's positive, and that's what we need right now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm all about bringing positivity into the world in my own way.
Amen. I think that's the most important thing that every person can do is just focus on one way, at least one way that you can bring in positivity.
Fair enough. And if you don't mind me asking, so what have you been up to lately?
Oh, man. After getting out of the Big Brother All-Stars house, I have been rocking and rolling with my podcast show, Hello Friends, with my co-host, Eric Curto. And we've been, interviewing people from, The Bachelorette, like Caitlin Bristow. And then we've also been interviewing, Matt from Pentatonics. So we've had an array of people talking about reality TV, talking about life, quarantine, the holidays, just like we were saying, good stuff, positive vibes, and just connecting with people, especially now. It's a very difficult time. It's a weird time, but at least, we all have this common bond of wanting to hear what each other has to say and wanting to go through the shared experiences of what we're watching on TV and whatnot. So yeah, it's a good time.
Let me ask you something, because look, I hate to admit this. My little brother is a massive Big Brother fan, right?
Hey.
He's been trying for years to not only get me to watch the show, but he's been for the past 4 years trying to wear me down, trying to get me to apply to be on Big Brother. And I was like, I could not. Oh. I could not. I respect them, but I don't think I could do it.
I think you could. Because you haven't seen it, I would argue you have to see it first to know if you could do it.
You know what? That's a fair point. But let's back up here a little bit, because in case there's anyone else who hasn't watched it, could you explain a little bit about the premise and how it works? And also, could you explain what being on the All-Star show that you mentioned is? What does that mean?
Absolutely. So Big Brother is a reality television show. And what it does is it moves 16 people from all across the United States into a house together. And we have no contact with the outside world whatsoever, with no cell phones, no newspapers, there's no windows in the house.
Yeah.
And it's just yourself and 15 people from, like, I'm from New York, so it could be Florida, Texas, who knows, maybe even Alaska, I don't know, but California. And you're from different walks of life. So you could be an influencer, a teacher, a mechanic, an oil rig engineer. And it's basically, competitions each week where somebody becomes what they call the head of household, which is the person in power. They nominate 2 people to perhaps be evicted from the house. And each week, one person is voted by their peers to leave. And it's a big social game. It's a big competitive game because there are competitions. And basically, it's whoever outlasts everybody else, whoever can, withstand not being voted out, whoever can win comps. And it's, I guess you would argue, survival of the fittest. But it's more so not in a survivor vein. It's more so a social experiment as a petri dish of our society and how people treat each other and who, wants to get rid of whom because of personality, conflicts. Yeah. It's a very interesting social experiment.
Okay. Wow. So that's way cooler than my little brother described it. Shame on you, okay. Jason. This is your fault now. So then when you have all these like different personalities, like, and you guys are voting every week, it sounds like, right? How do you not, what's the strategy? I mean, I don't know if you can share that, but like, what's the strategy here so that you're not peeving someone off enough where they're like trying to get rid of you?
Oh man. Oh gosh, that's the most difficult question when it comes to Big Brother. It's a matter of, keeping your friends close, but your enemies closer, having your allies, but not having your enemies know you're against them. The vote each week is anonymous. So people know the vote count. So for instance, I was evicted this season by a vote of 10-2. So I knew 10 people voted me out, but I don't know who the 2 people are.
Got it.
So the house doesn't know either. So it's a lot of it is lying and manipulation and, kind of like twisting things and whatnot. And, not everybody plays that way. I played a very honest, clean, I roll with who I roll with type of game.
Yeah.
And I know you were asking earlier about All-Stars. So my first season was just, strangers from across the country. This season was All-Stars, meaning people who have already been on Big Brother in the past. So there's people that were on season 8 or 9, people on season 10, people from season 14, 15, my season 21. So they took people from all decades long, and put them in the house together. And that was a far different, more difficult dynamic because it's people that know how to play the game and they know each other and they know how each other tick. So it was a very interesting experience.
Got it. Okay, see, that's what I didn't understand. I didn't know it was anonymous. I was like, oh, if I know Bobby Sue voted for me last week, I'm coming for Bobby Sue.
Yeah, people will throw row votes out there in the hopes that they can pin it on somebody else, and people point fingers, and it's a very interesting show to watch.
Sure.
And it's a very stressful game to live, and that's the best way I could put it.
Okay, this is the last question I'll ask you on this, and then we'll go right into your story. How long were you how long are you in the house with all things said and done? So
Big Brother is typically, the summer seasons are typically 3 months long. So my first season, I had made it all the way to finale night. So I was in the house 99 days with no contact with the outside world. And then this past season was a little bit shorter because it started late due to COVID and everything. I think it was maybe 83, 84 days. I did not last long this season.
Right.
So I was only there 14, 16 days, around that.
Okay. You imagine going into like that situation, like, I don't know, I'm just throwing a number, like a date out there, like maybe November, no, not even, let's say October of 2019 and coming out and then COVID's a thing. You imagine that was your experience? That must be horrible.
That's a very, very valid point. It's weird how much the world does change when you get out. Like take for instance, my first season, I was there for 3 months. I entered late June.
Yeah.
And then came out. There was people had Halloween blow-ups on their driveways. And I remember driving to the airport and I'm like, why are people celebrating Halloween? It's June. Because you kind of like forget where you left off. You kind of feel like the world paused when you left.
Yeah.
So it was very weird. And you hear about celebrities that got divorced or celebrity deaths.
Yeah.
And you just can't wrap your head around like, how long was I gone? What happened? My sisters had so much to share about, the preschool. It was so weird. It was very strange.
Yeah, I would imagine that's like, you know what it kind of sounds like? It kind of sounds like waking up from a coma and like the years have passed you by and you're like, what?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let me not dilly-dally too much on this. Nicole, the stage is yours. Go ahead and tell us your story.
Okay, so my story obviously begins, I would say, pre-Big Brother. I think that's the journey most people know me for. So it started out, I went to college, got my degree, and was very uncertain about the path I wanted to take, like career-wise. So I went and worked at the preschool where my sisters work, and I love it there, love the kids, love helping the kids, but I just knew that wasn't where I was meant to land, and it wasn't my niche. So I remember feeling very like stuck and very frustrated and very, what next? Like, I know there's more for Nicole Anthony, but what's next? And I was so undecided in regard to everything. So I applied to Big Brother, and I also started looking into a master's degree. Mm-hmm. And my thought process was, I have faith in my God. I have faith in my journey. Whichever one answers is the one I'm meant to do.
Right.
And I was not hearing back from Big Brother. Usually people hear back in like April, and the weeks are passing and I didn't hear back. So I started, looking more so into college. I'm like, okay, I guess my route is master's degree. That's fine. That's what I'm meant to do. And it was in that process, I was just about to meet with a graduate advisor when I got the call to go to Big Brother finals. And that ball just started rolling. I went through the casting process. I went through the finals process. Literally bang, bang, bang in the course of a couple weeks was in the Big Brother 21 house. And to be honest, now looking back at it, hindsight's always 20/20. I'm not really knowing what I was getting myself into. I had watched the show for a decade, huge fan of it, huge fan of the players and the competitions and just watching it unfold. And looking back at premiere night, I realized how young I looked. I realized how naive I looked. Yeah. I realized just, it was very plucking myself out of my living arrangements that I was in, which was, still living at home. I had never been on a plane, never been away to college, and plopping myself in California in this house with 15 roommates from all walks of life. Yeah. So it was a very, big culture shock. So I went through BB21. There were a lot of highs, but there were also a lot of lows.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Could you walk us through, what was the casting process like? Like, what did that look like for you?
Sure. So what's really cool about the casting process is it's very day after day after day after day. And now looking back, I think they do that to see if you're mentally strong enough and physically strong enough to be rigorously put through. We need pictures right now. We need a video right now. Film yourself right now. What are you doing? Oh, I'm outside with my dog, Georgia. We're playing. Send a headshot right now. Because I think they do that to see how passionate and ready you are, if you're going to blow them off, if you're going to keep up with it.
Right.
So it was a lot of phone calls and Skype interviews and Skype interviews where, they want to get to know you. And I thought I was clever, kind of hiding behind this hard New York exterior. And then quite quickly, they found out that I was very quirky. They saw my stuffed animal collection. They saw my unicorns in my room in a matter of minutes because I didn't understand what Skype was. So when I connected and they saw everything, I was like, oh darn, this is not a phone call. They could actually see my bedroom.
Right.
So, very quickly, I think they realized oh, this girl is, she's an enigma. She's something. And yeah, the casting process is just a lot of, them calling to get to know you. Oh, what is your family doing today? What do you do in your alone time? Just a lot about your personal life. And then I flew out for finals, which is actually in California. You meet with the producers, and that's a very almost intimidating interaction to see, to stand in front of a board of CBS producers. But at the same time, it's very almost like a high. You're just oh yeah, I get to sell myself in front of these people. And I just remember being very funny, and I kept on making jokes, and I just kept on being my quirky self. And I remember leaving that room thinking I got this. I know I got this. I'm in this finals environment with maybe 20 total people, and only 4 of us were girls. And I was I will be on this next cast. And lo and behold, before I even flew home, they called me in the hotel room and they said, Nicole, you're on the cast. And I was not on the cast, but rephrase, you're in the last phase. Sure. Where the camera crew is going to come to your house. And that's usually when you say to yourself, oh my gosh, they're going to bring me my key, which, tells you you're about to move in. So when I got the call from the hotel room saying you made it to like the last step, I was like, this is it. I'm on the show.
Got it. Okay. So I feel like I derailed you, but go on from where you were.
So BB21, like I said, had a lot of highs, but also a lot of lows. I had people in the house I was very close to. But something that I hate to say it this way, but that like I'm known for is being the underdog and is being the one that was locked out of a room by a giant alliance that proceeded to, joke about me and talk about me and not say very nice things about me. And I've since, become closer with a lot of those people and, talked it out and worked it out, because that environment makes you say and do crazy things, especially when you're fighting for $500,000. But there were a lot of low points during BB21. And the reason why I bring that up is because that's what affects later on in my journey. So like I said, I made it to finale night, 99 days in this house. I ended up being third, which is not horrible. I didn't win the grand prize, but I made it all the way to finale night, which to me was a big accomplishment, especially being a fan. Came out of the house and was like, ooh, that was a very big culture shock. That was a very difficult experience. Again, I don't like this term, but I was bullied in the house. And, oh man, like I experienced a lot of things that, again, very young Nicole maybe didn't experience. And I said, no, like, you know what? I'm fine. I'm good. Yeah, it was a lot. I feel like I went through a lot, but I'm sure I can process this. I'm good. Right. I'm just going to live my best life. I'm going to go do meet and greets. I'm going to go do interviews. Like, Nicole is fine. And then here we are. It's 2020. My co-host and I, we really become really close buddies. We start up our Hello Friends podcast. We're rocking and rolling. Life is good. I'm thinking, yeah, I processed that. I passed that. I am strong. I'm independent. And that's when I got the call to return for All-Stars. And I was very shocked by my response internally to being called. Externally, I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. This is the best opportunity ever. I can't believe you guys want me back. Such a huge accomplishment, especially as a fan. They only picked 16 All-Stars and they chose me. And then I hung up the phone and I remember, calling my family into the kitchen. And I'm like, guys, it's happening again. And my family had the same reaction I did of like, oh man, are you ready for this? I was like, I don't know. Last time I got the call, I was jumping up and down. I was screaming. I couldn't wait because I didn't know what to expect. Right. But now that I've been through it, I'm like, I don't know. Like, is this something I do want to do? Is this something I can handle? And I remember, teetering a lot about my decision. And ultimately, because I'm such a huge fan of the show, I decided the regret I would have for saying no would greatly outweigh any anxieties I faced in the house. So I, of course, said yes, because it's Big Brother. You don't turn down Big Brother. Right. And went into the All-Stars house. And I hate telling this story because I feel as though it's a slap in the face to Big Brother, and I don't mean it to be. I still love that show. I still love my castmates. I will always be a fan. If they ask me back years down the line, I'd probably still say yes. But I very quickly realized in the All-Star house that I didn't process what I had gone through the previous year. I didn't process the 100 days, secluded, 100 days away from my family, the incidents with fellow castmates, the bullying segments. Like, I didn't process it. And that's not me, poo-pooing on any of my former castmates. It's not me, picking on anybody. That's just me saying I, Nicole, didn't process it. So premiere night of All-Stars, I'm like, this is so great. I'm back in my house. I was the last one to leave here. I'm the first one to enter. Wow, I love this. It's going to be so fun. I'm going to make friends with these people again. And again, that was the very naive side of me because it's All-Stars and people came to compete for their families and their wives and their husbands and their children. And I very quickly, as of day 2, realized, oh my God, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can be locked away and have, a wake up time. And just it very quickly made me realize like, oh damn, I maybe rushed into this and maybe I'm not as strong currently as I have been in the past or that I think I am. And long story short, the first week was difficult for me because I was also a have-not, and for those that don't know, have-not means you have to sleep in a cold bedroom. You can't sleep downstairs with everybody else. You can't take hot showers, so it's only cold showers, and you're only allowed to eat slop, which is steel-cut oats. It's like oatmeal, but steel-cut oats. So my first week, I was sleep-deprived. I was starving. I got very, very sick on the slop, and then I survived that week because I wasn't evicted. And then week 2, I was nominated for eviction. So it was basically moved into the house, realized I had a lot of demons that I didn't process from last season, and, just post-reality TV life. And then on slop, so now my body is physically ill, and then I was put on the block. So now I'm like mentally panicking that I'm about to be evicted. And it was a very, very scary spiral for me, especially now looking back, and I can openly admit that. I scared myself a lot in that house, that I wasn't myself. I wasn't cheery, quirky, unicorn Nicole dancing all the time. And that was very, very horrifying to me. And so I was evicted week 2, and I exited the house to a lot of opinions. Social media is very opinionated about what you did wrong, and why were you so emotional, or why didn't you trust this ally, or why did you not trust that ally, or why did you not fight, or why did you fight? Everybody always has something to say, of course.
Right.
So I came out of the house and confronted a lot of demons and realized, like, oh my gosh, I was not content there, and this from last season was difficult, and this from reality life was difficult, and I didn't process this. And again, I said to myself, oh gosh, I'm not going to do therapy. I got this. I'm Nicole. I can just keep rolling forward. Like, I don't need anybody to talk to. Like, I can figure this out. And I realized I kind of wasn't. And luckily, CBS, being as amazing as they are, offered to send me to therapy. And I was like, okay, like, I'm big on mental health. I'm big on awareness and ending the stigma. So I said, okay, let's do it. Like, I'm going to go. And when I tell you, that's the one thing in my life that I wish I had done sooner. And going to therapy was such a release, and such, being able to talk to somebody who's, not a family member, because I always felt guilty putting like that burden of reality TV on them, but also not a castmate who I have to worry is going to report it back to another castmate, or not somebody in the reality realm who I have to worry is going to tweet about it or tell a producer about it. It's literally just you and the therapist, and you get to speak your truth without having to worry about it being told to other people. And that was my biggest fear. I'm a little paranoid from my time in the Big Brother house of who's telling whom what. And therapy has been going amazingly. I've processed so much of what I've gone through. I actually think about Big Brother now and I smile, and I'm eager to see future seasons. And like, I just said, like, this week, I said, I feel that love for Big Brother and reality TV returning, and that respect for it. And I can actually laugh about it. And that's a very big step for me. So yeah, like my journey, the reason why I share it this way is because, yes, I was so eager in the beginning, but it's a very naive stance when you're not really sure what you're getting yourself into, when you put yourself on a public TV show, surrounded by cameras, surrounded by microphones. There's microphones and cameras in the bathroom. At nighttime, you're always watched. And I share that because I want people to know who maybe are looking into reality TV that, yes, it's amazing. Yes, it's incredible. Yes, it'll change your life, but also know what you're getting yourself into, and know that you don't know what you're getting yourself into. So you need to be ready after the fact to, do what you're going to need. And I hate the word regret, but I do regret not saying yes to therapy post my first season. But then again, maybe I said no because I wasn't ready,
Well, first and foremost, I want to say, given what you just shared with us, I really appreciate that you were willing to come on and open up about it, because, you just said that was something that was traditionally difficult for you. So I can't put into words how much I appreciate that. I'm also glad that you feel that you're in a place where you've grown past these experiences. Not past, that's not the right word. You've grown in this experiences and been able to share your truth, and you felt, and you're in a better place or in a happier place. So I'm very happy that that's what has come out of it. So let's cheer to that. Yeah, right. So now, again, for those who haven't watched Big Brother, you mentioned that you were bullied in the house, and that there was this abuse. Could you I don't need you to relive it. That's not what I'm asking here. But just could you more explain what kinds of things? Like, I know you touched upon it a little bit too towards the end, but what kinds of things were like actually happening, and what were like the benefits of it? Like, why were they doing that to you? And I'm not. Sure. This is not about your castmates too. I want to throw that out there. No, not indictment on them. I'm just I'm just trying to understand what was going on in that time frame. Is really what I want.
Absolutely. And again, old Nicole would probably say like, oh, I don't want to answer that because I feel bad for my castmates. I feel bad because we've gotten past it. But now that I am, working through things, it's okay because it's what happened. It is the truth. And yes, I have friendships with a lot of them now, and we've all worked past it, and they've admitted they made a mistake, and that's what people do. But rewinding, it was a very difficult time. So in the house, we very quickly kind of split into two sides. So there was a big alliance that people would say is the traditional, popular people, the traditional, jocks, like quote unquote, those type people in school. Whereas my side of the house, and I wasn't the leader of it, I'm just saying the side of the house I was with were more of the stereotypical quote unquote outsiders, the people in school who wouldn't be a part of the popular jock clique. And again, I'm not judging anybody for being on either side of that dynamic. It's just the nature of humankind. Again, that petri dish, that social experiment, people tend to break off to who they gravitate toward. There's bias there, whether it's subconscious or not, and all that happened the way it did. So I was on the side of the house that wasn't with this big alliance. And I was aware of it. I was aware of this big alliance. And so, being a watcher of the show, I'm like, a big alliance is a no-go. Like, I'm going to break this up. I'm going to fix this. And I went from, member to member to member of the big alliance and just spoke to them because I believe I'm a very personable person. And they would each tell me stuff about each other, game-wise. Like, these two don't like those two, and those two want to evict these two. And I'm like, this is great. If I tell them each other's coming after them, they'll go after each other and not me and my, the other side of the house. So I went and told everybody, like, hey, those two don't like you. And then I went to the other two, I was like, hey, those two don't like you. That's how I roll. I'm from New York. You know this. Yeah. Us New Yorkers, we shoot it straight.
Of course.
He don't like you. She don't like you.
I don't like you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you tell people how it is. So I made sure I told everybody, partially because that's my nature, but also very much so because I was like, I need to turn these people against each other to keep me and my allies safe. And long story short, this alliance got together and compared notes. And they are in what's called the HOH room. So that's like the head of the household's room. The door is locked, and there is 9 of them. So there's only 16 people in the house. So 9 of them are now upstairs in this room, and they're hashing out what they've heard about each other. And of course, they've all heard it from me. So they're all comparing notes like, I heard you said blah, blah, blah. Well, I heard you said blah, blah, blah. And of course, it's a game. We're fighting for $500,000 instead of people saying, oh, you know what? I did say that. I am coming after you. Or, yeah, I don't like you.
Right.
Rightfully so. It's a game. They all went, who said that? Nicole? Oh, she's psychotic. She makes stuff up. She's trying to turn us all against each other. So I get that from a game angle, but, it did very quickly. Sure. I still haven't watched the footage. That's something that I'm working on with my therapist, but it did quickly snowball into, more Nicole, the human being, more Nicole, the person, why I'm weird and why I act different and why it very quickly spiraled into, more personal than game. And again, in that game, everything is a game piece. I understand that, but it's just unfortunate, So I did go upstairs because, again, being from New York, I was like, I'm not scared of a room full of 9 people. I will walk in and tell you to your face, don't lie to me. I know what you all said. And if you're going to evict me for it, fine. Just know that you're all coming after each other. Like, I don't give a crap. Yeah. So I went up there and I knocked on the door because, again, I'm not afraid. And one of the members of that alliance opened the door, saw it was me, and slammed the door in my face. And that's when round 2 happened, where they all were behind the door laughing about me and, high-fiving each other and body jumping, like when men win a sporting match and they jump into it. I never understand that. But, body jumping each other. I don't know. So they were all celebrating that they realized the Nicole demise and we're going to get her. And then, they came out of that room and it just didn't end there. It became nobody talked to her. and nobody look at her, and everybody kind of snicker when she walks by. And that was a very difficult time for me. So I had never been bullied as a kid, but I was bullied as an adult, which was very odd. Like I was bullied at the collegiate level. I was bullied in the workplace. So I was like, oh my gosh, why is Nicole the adult always in these situations? So I went in what's called the diary room, which is like a secret room, just you yourself. And I cried it out for hours. And they, proceeded to have dinner without me and celebrate that I wasn't at the dinner table and good thing she's not here, all stuff like that. So it just snowballed very quickly. And mind you, that was week 2. Had I gone home week 2, I probably would have hated all those people, but I did stay. I ended up building relationships and friendships with a lot of them. I am very close friends to a few of them. Here we are a year and a half, 2 years later. So, yes, growth did happen, but that situation did stick with me. And I thought, oh no, I'm friends with these people. I moved past it. And like I said, re-entering the Big Brother house this season, I realized a lot of that created demons where I was very paranoid and I was very anxious and I was very, oh my God, people are going to turn on me. People are talking about me. People are judging me. People are bullying me. Right. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the way I kind of like PTSD, like trauma. Like I very much was like, oh my gosh, it's happening again. And that's what affected me so much my second time in the house.
Oh, okay. Wow. So first and foremost, I'd like to say that as you were telling that story, I'd like to imagine that the way that this went down was you tightened up your yellow Tims, your constructs, got them real tight. You know what I mean? Yeah. You tilted your Yankee cap to the side a little bit.
Met cap.
Oh, thank God you're a Mets fan. Me too.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Team underdogs.
Exactly. Actually, after that trade we pulled off yesterday, we are now the owners of New York. Thank you. Frankie Lindor is the best shortstop in New York. What's up? Okay. We tilted that Mets cap just a little bit. You kicked the door in and you're like, yeah.
And that's what's so funny about me is internally, that was me. Internally, I was like, let me in that room. I will chew you up and spit you out.
All right. So let's go ahead and jump right back into this. Nicole, let me give you the stage back and go ahead and retell us your story.
Oh, man. I very firmly believe, and there's a couple paths this could have taken.
Sure.
I think had I been through the experiences I've been through. So Nicole right now, and now you pick her up and you plop her pre-BB21. I think you would see that side by side of me right now and Nicole that entered BB21 back in 2019. And you would just see light years of difference in maturity and confidence being a very, very big one. I thought I was confident, but I wasn't. And I think like I said, if this Nicole entered that house, maybe, who knows, maybe I wouldn't have lasted as long because I would have been too loud. But I think certain situations like the being locked out of the room, like the getting the silent treatment, like the crying in the DR about it, I don't think that would have happened. And I think I would have, like you said, tilted my cap and be like, no, let me in that room. Like, you're going to let me in that room. Yeah. And even if it would have gotten me evicted, I would have stood up for myself. And that's something that, again, I don't like the word regret, but I do kind of regret not being a better role model for maybe like the young girls or young quirky folk watching, that I didn't bust in that room and, verbally stand up for myself in that instance. So I think Nicole now, if I had that level of confidence and maturity then, would have done that. And I think it would have earned me a greater level of respect, especially early on in the game. And I think it would have, helped me be even further than I am right now. I think I would be even more confident, like, New York, let's go type of gal. And also in that vein, the bigger side of this, the more realistic side of it is I very firmly believe if I had come out of BB21 on this high, here I am, made it to third place. I won America's favorite. Everybody loves me. Oh my God. I think if I had taken a step back and said, yes, things are very positive right now. But in that house, they weren't always. There's a reason why I don't watch the footage. There's a reason why I'm uncomfortable bringing up certain things. Darn, maybe I should go to therapy. And I think if again, I don't like the word, but I regret not saying yes to therapy last year. And I think if I would have went into therapy last November, December, I could have processed all those things better, moved past them better. And when I got that call for All-Stars, I don't think it would have been oh no, can I handle this? And that subconscious feeling of something's not right. I think when I got that call, I would have been far more, let's do this. I process everything from last season. I know what I need to do now. I trust myself. I'm confident in myself. Let me go into All-Stars healthier. And I think I would have gone into BB All-Stars more mentally ready and prepared and strong to really not be so caught up in all the messed upness.
Right.
I don't want to curse, all the messed upness that was going on inside my system, and more focused on the actual people in the game and what was happening around me. And I honestly think I would have fared better. I don't think I would have, like, even if I was nominated as early as I was, I think I would have been better able to plead my case to my fellow house guests, to the HOH. I think I would have been more comfortable approaching the HOH. I think I wouldn't have shut down when people said no to me. And I think I would have had more conviction about, hey, let's do a house meeting, or hey, this is how I feel and why. And I would have been more verbal as opposed to stuck in my own head, perseverating about things that happened months ago.
Right.
So when I re-envision my journey, I imagine therapy happening a year earlier than it did. And I imagine me the winner of BB All-Star.
The way I did my research for this is, I asked my little brother.
Shout out to the broski.
Yeah, shout out Jason. There you go. Here it is.
Hello, Jason.
See, Jason, Nicole said hi. I promise it would happen. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
Can I say it your way? Like, hello, Jason.
Stop it. Yes, you can. All right. So it seems to me like one of the things that he did mention is that you were a fan favorite. Like, your personality apparently was very endearing to fans who were watching your journey. Now, if you had come in with this like confidence and this like real like New York attitude, would that have affected that? Would you not have been as endeared and loved by the fans as you are?
That's a very valid point. And I think the answer to that is no. I think people saw a very relatable person. I'm not an influencer model. I'm not somebody who knew somebody in production or knew casting agents or lived in LA. I literally am from Long Island, working at a preschool, just living my best life. Sent in an audition video from my 7-year-old Android phone, So I think that's a very valid point. If I had entered with this sense of, I'm Nicole Anthony from Long Island, New York, don't mess with me, I'm going to call you all out. That's very valid. Maybe the average watcher would be like, no, honey, no. And instead, they got a very genuine, oh, she's meek, she's timid. She thought she was this confident, ready to go person. But look, she's not. But look, she's growing.
Along that same token, do you, and again, I don't know if this gets answered on the show because, so I apologize if this is repetitive, but like, was it because you came across as this like, or at least you were perceived as timid and meek, do you think that helped you fly under the radar so that you could come in third place? And would that like more like aggressive attitude had possibly gotten you evicted earlier?
Oh, absolutely. I know I was underestimated, and not just by my cast. I was also underestimated by myself. I tried my darndest in those comps and I just wasn't winning them. So I think there was that perception like, she's not a threat. And then my nature, I am very personable, as awkward as I am and socially awkward. Yeah. Like, I do talk to everybody and connect to everybody. It doesn't matter on what level. You could be a 6'4" jock. Like, I would talk to you and find something to connect with you about or over. And I think that's a very valid point. Everybody in that house was like, oh, she's sweet little quirky Nicole. Yeah. She's not going to come after me if she wins, and she's not going to even win a comp to win. So it's okay. She's good. Leave her. And, I did build up a lot of traction toward the end of my first season. I won a lot of comps, made big moves, some moves people don't agree with, but you do what you do in the moment because you think it's best for your game.
Sure.
But yeah, I think my nature being what it was, and I did go in there saying that, like, I just want to kind of like assess and adapt the whole time. I think that did very much help me put people's focus on other people. Like, oh, she's Nicole, she loves me. Like, we don't need to worry about her right now. And then all of a sudden it was like finale, and I was like, surprise!
I love that. That was wonderful. All right. First and foremost, let me tell you this. You have been such a blast, like, to speak with. As a matter of fact, As a matter of fact, I'm strongly considering going back and just rewatching that season of Big Brother and finally watching Big Brother for the first time. That's how much I've enjoyed talking to you today.
What I will say is, my season might, yes, make you a very big fan of me, but I don't know necessarily. There's people out there very strong opinions about BB21. So if you want a love of the game and the show, I would encourage you to ask your brother another season to maybe piggyback it with. Because I wouldn't want you to get a bad taste in your mouth about like some of the dynamics in my house, because some of them were not kosher, but I was.
That's all that really matters.
Just focus on me. That's all you need to worry about. Got it.
All right, okay. 1-1. Just keep imagining that Mets fitted. I got it. Yeah. All right, so before I let you go, we have a few traditions that we have on the podcast. The first is we like to end every episode on a more positive note. So I like to ask my guests if they have a quick childhood story that they can share with us that like puts a smile on their face or like just generally makes them feel warm inside.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I have a couple.
Sure.
I was a very mischievous child. I was very like, not how can I cause trouble, but just like, I wonder what that does, or I wonder why that is. And one of the things I did was, just a little example. My dad and I were working on the electric in the house. I was very, very little. He was teaching. My dad's an electrician. So he was teaching me, and he was like, Nicole, actually, Nick, he calls me Nick. Nick, I'm going down the basement. Don't click the reset button. And I was like, okay, Dad, you don't need to worry. You can trust me. Yeah. And Dad wasn't even like halfway down the steps when I clicked the reset button. And put the lights out across the entire house. So you just hear my dad screaming, Nick, what'd you do? So I went and hid in the bathroom, why'd I hide in the bathroom? Obviously he found me. But, that's just one example. Another example is I remember being in the upstairs bathroom when I was little, and for whatever reason, something possessed me to unscrew the lug nuts on the toilet.
No.
So somehow my little baby fingers, I was able to unscrew tightened lug nuts. I guess I have severe Hulk strength. Yeah. And my parents were downstairs with my other sister, and suddenly the ceiling tiles started dripping. And lo and behold, Nicole flooded the kitchen. And the third story to that is I was upset one day because I wanted to walk my sister to the bus stop with my mom. I'm the youngest of three girls. Sure. My sisters are 5 and 7 years older than me. So I got to see them going to elementary school together, middle school together. I was always like the one that had to like wait back. So my mom went to bring my sister to the bus stop, and I'm like, can I go? And she was like, no, Nick, I don't have time to get you dressed. Stay home with Dad. And, if there's one thing anybody knows about Nicole Anthony, it's that you don't tell me what to do. And when you tell me what to do, I get defensive and do the opposite. So Mom was like, you stay here. I can't dress you. And I was like, oh, yeah? Okay, I'll show you. I'll dress myself. So I went upstairs, went in my dresser, didn't know how the hell to dress myself, was panicking, couldn't find a shirt, couldn't find pants. I think I was like, 3, 4. And I'm like, I don't understand how people dress themselves. This doesn't make any sense. And instead of being a logical child who asked Dad for help or just ran outside in my pajamas, I called the cops on my mom.
Oh, no.
I called 911 to tell them that Mom would not dress me and bring me to the bus stop with her. But Nicole being Nicole, when the police lady picked up the phone, I panicked and hung up. Oh, no. And everybody knows when you hang up on a police officer, they come to your house. Yep. So I tried my attempt again of hiding. So I hid in my parents' closet when the cops came. But they still found me. And I got a stern warning from the police officer that if I did it again, I would go to baby jail, which I very much believe to be true. And I was like, never doing that again. So the moral of the story there is I was a very mischievous child who liked, knocking the lights out and flooding the kitchen and calling the cops. And then I was on reality TV. So I guess it kind of works out.
It worked out. I want to say I love each and every one of those stories because there's this like sweet innocence behind the mischievous acts, Mischievous, not mischievous.
Oh, I say mischievous. I know. Mischievous?
Mischievous, I think? Whatever.
Mischievous. We'll just make it wrong. But, I didn't do it to be, like, an evil child. Right. I did it because I was like, what does this do? I was, exploratory. I wanted to know. I was inquisitive.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I love all those stories. Thank you so much for sharing those with us. And the last thing, so at the end of every episode, we'd like to highlight a charity or an organization that we like to encourage our revisionaries to support. Do you have a charity or an organization that's near and dear to your heart?
Absolutely. Hello, revisionaries. I like that name. So as a part of the reality television realm, every year there's a event called Hearts of Reality, and what it does is raises money for Give Kids the World Village. And Give Kids the World Village, they raise money for very sick children, and I can't even describe how amazing it is. Like, they have characters, like Disney characters visit these children. Around the holidays, they do the Night of a Million Lights, and they light up all the houses for the kids to see. And they give so much to, a group of a society that I'm very passionate about. Obviously, I worked at a preschool. Children and now, sick children, like, they just give so much back. So that's something that's very important to me as a reality, quote unquote, star, is Give Kids the World Village. And then as just Nicole from Long Island, I'm a huge supporter of North Shore Animal League of America. I'm a big supporter of Adopt, Don't Shop. I've gotten all my doggos adopted from North Shore. We donate to them all the time. So if you're looking for like a local Long Island place, North Shore is the way to go for the puppers and the kittens and all the animals.
That's perfect. And Nicole, if you don't mind sharing those links with me, I'll go ahead and put them in the show notes so you guys could just click below and go ahead and support them.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, on that note, it has been such a pleasure having you and chatting with you today on the Revisionary Podcast. Do you have any last words for our revisionaries?
Oh, man, just a thank you for having me on and allowing me to share my story. My last words are just rather plural. Use good grammar. Use protection. Use good grammar. No. In all sincerity, when you're going through your process, when you think something with your gut or intuition, go with that. If your gut, your intuition, whatever it may be, is saying, ooh, I think I need to talk to somebody right now, or I think I need therapy right now, or I think I need help right now, don't ignore that voice. Don't squash it. Don't convince yourself that you're okay and you could do it on your own. Help is okay. Help is always there. It's not shameful to ask for help. And that's what's so important about this world and sharing our stories, is to help one another and everybody move forward together collectively as one. And I think it's just important to be true to yourself and not be afraid to seek help.
Beautifully said. Oh, and last thing, I promise. Where can we follow you?
Oh, man, you can follow me at Strong Island Nicole on Instagram and most other places, except for Twitter. I'm at Strong Island NI2, because I like to change it up and frustrate people. And then otherwise, you can find me at HelloFriendsPod.com, and we are Hello Friends Podcast everywhere. So all the socials, all the broadcasting sites, all the audio podcast providers, we are Hello Friends.
Beautiful. And thank you again for coming on the Revisionary Podcast, Nicole. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
The Revisionary Podcast.
So that was a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed that. And I'm not a Big Brother fan, but like I said, I think that this conversation has convinced me that I should go ahead and go watch Big Brother now. Nicole was wonderful. She appreciated the way she was willing to open up. And she also suggested that since my voice was a little higher pitched, then maybe I should end on a lower note. So maybe that'll become a thing. I don't know. We'll do that later. But with that being said, as always, I appreciate all of you. Make sure you go ahead and support her charities. And if you're a fan of Big Brother, go ahead and watch her season if you haven't already. And more importantly than everything, also support her podcast, Hello Friends. And as always, and now this is what Nicole suggests, so this is how we're ending this. Ready? As always, and as I like to end every episode, I like to say, thank you for listening.
This is